Welcome back to Naval News. Today's news comes at us from USNI News. That's the United States Naval Institute. I would encourage everyone watching this to go to usni.org and create your free account over there and support the Naval Institute. This story is written by Miss Gidget Fuentes, and this is talking about the USS Tripoli, who has been operating off the coast of Southern California now for about a week. And we did mention that in our fleet tracker video this week, but now we have more details on what they're doing. And it's a really interesting idea that I'm glad to see the Marine Corps actually putting into practice to see if it works. And so from the piece, Marines load a record of 16 F-35Bs aboard USS Tripoli in a test of a Lightning carrier concept. Now, the idea of the Lightning carrier or the Harrier carrier concept goes way, way back. In 2003 was the most recent adaptation of an LHA to carry, instead of the rotary like Ospreys and helicopters, these essential helicopter carriers, carrying aircraft instead. So in 2003, during the invasion of Iraq, the second 2003 invasion of Iraq, we had what was called Harrier carriers, where we had 2 squadrons of Harriers on the ships. But now that we have the F-35 Bravo, which is a VTOL capable F-35, they're testing to see how many can we effectively and efficiently operate on the deck of these large marine carrying helicopter carriers, essentially, turning them into small aircraft carriers. And this is a great idea because we have a Navy consistently now of, a dozen large nuclear powered aircraft carriers that have lots of, people and planes and all that. But our goal is, as we're going to talk about today in another story, is to have a more diversified Navy where the arsenal isn't on 1 or 2 primary ships like the Ticonderoga class used to be. The arsenals, whether it's weapons or planes or other capabilities like communications, are diversified throughout the entire fleet. So these little aircraft carriers are going to be sailing alongside our large aircraft carriers in the future and have great air-to-air multi-purpose capabilities. And that's what we're testing here. So let's go back to the piece written by Gidget. She says, on board the amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli, the Marines broke a record on Sunday when they loaded 16 F-35 Bravo Lightning II Joint Strike Fighters aboard a big deck amphibious warship. Under cloudy skies on Sunday afternoon, deck sailors directed Marine pilots onto launching spots and maneuvered others into parking spots on the flight deck of the LHA-7, the Navy's newest big deck amphibious warship. And more's coming this week. So the fighters belong to 2 operational squadrons, the Vikings and the Wake Island Avengers, both out of Yuma Marine Corps Air Station, Arizona. I almost said Yuma, California. It's Yuma, Arizona. And the Marine Operational Test Evaluation Squadron 1. Now, one quick thing. If you are in the Navy or the Marine Corps and you can get part of a Operational Test and Evaluation Squadron, I was in one of these with submarines. And this is a lot of fun. Just to give you guys some idea. Well, it doesn't matter if you're enlisted or officer. If you want to test the latest, technology that the military has to offer that's not even really fleshed out yet, but it's being field tested, you want to get in one of these squadrons for operational testing and evaluation. All right. Also, the Marine Corps is fielding an advanced multi-mission aircraft to replace its FA-18 Hornet and Harrier jets. That's what the F-35 Bravo is eventually going to do. To bring more than a dozen of the F-35B jets on board the Tripoli for flight operations, a number that could grow to 18 or 20 this week. So the idea isn't to see how many they can cram on board and just operate to get the numbers up. What they want to do is they want to operate between 16 now and 20, which is, I believe, the physical limit for deck space, and see what number between those 2 numbers is the most efficient for operating, getting aircraft refueled and back in the air again, and continuous air operations. That number may not be as many as you can fit. Right. So, but they're doing this at-sea testing to see what that number is. And it's great that they had this idea. This idea has been around for years. Like I said, we did this in 2003 with the Harriers. And now that we have this new VTOL aircraft, F-35 Bravo, they're doing it again. So rather the week-long, going back to the piece, the Marine Air Group 13 training event on the Tripoli is started to identify and building capabilities for Big Deck and its crew for the Marines and their jets to conduct integrated MAG level operations. That's Marine Air Group level operations at sea. They're going to be operating right alongside the CVNs eventually, conducting the same missions. And the way we fought over the last 20 years obviously has been a different model. There have been a lot of different squadrons doing a lot of different things in the Middle East, says Colonel Chad Vaughn, commander, Marine Aircraft Group 13, based in Yuma. But adversaries in today's existing threat and the future fight are much more capable in the air than the U.S. military and aviators specifically have faced in the past. And that's, referring to, China, of course, and to some extent, Russia still, despite their recent performance, they still have, fourth and even fifth generation fighters, both those countries. And so they do have, peer-to-peer capable, supposedly on paper anyway, capability as we have. And so we got to get ready for that fight, is what he's saying. Quote, "It requires a skill set that we just haven't practiced much," Vaughn said on Sunday on board the Tripoli, speaking with Captain Joel Lang, the ship's commander. Last October, the MAG-13 deployed squadrons in the Desert Integrated Field Exercise at a Marine Air Ground Combat Center in 29 Palms, California. It was an opportunity for MAG headquarters to fight from land. So they practiced doing this, these missions on land and here at sea. And I think turning these LHAs into, F-35 Bravo carriers is a great idea. And I'm glad to see it's not just an idea. They're testing it to see if it works. And if I know the few Marines that I know in my personal life, they're going to make it work. That's one thing that Marine Corps can do, is you give them a goal and they will, hell or high water, going to achieve that goal. So there's no doubt in my mind that this will become a thing. So yeah, we talked about a little bit about the history of it, but it's a new capability that the F-35 brings to the Marine Corps, and congratulations to them. All right. I'm going to have a link to this story and all the ones we're going to talk about in the description. I do want to shift gears real quick to the new shipbuilding plan that's been submitted to Congress with backgrounds and issues. The link to this, I'm going to have the Congressional Budget Office link for you so you can read the actual, direct report and not depend on a news site like USNI, even though they're completely, I trust them. But you can read the actual report yourself if you want to. So let's see what is going on with this report to the Navy. So a little bit of background here is the Congress, especially the House Armed Services Committee, not very happy with the Navy right now, and they haven't been for a lot of years, because the Navy doesn't request money in a budget to build ships that achieves the goals that the Navy says that they have. For instance, and I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. This is from the CBO budget report. According to the Chief of Naval Operations in February 18th of this year, this is the goal. We want to have about 363 manned vessels accompanied by 150 large unmanned vessels for a total of just over 500 ships in the Navy. That's the goal. Okay, we're not there yet. We're nowhere near that, but that's what we're working towards, supposedly. So, and this is what frustrates Congress to no end, is that they say that they want this large fleet of 355 to 363 manned vessels and over a 500 ship total Navy. But then they put in requests like 2 Virginias per year, with 1 Arleigh Burke class this year and 1 Constellation class. How does this check with this list here, where we're going to have 70 attack submarines? And I'll break that down for you in just a minute. Let's get back to this piece written by, I know Sam Legrone and Mallory Shelburne were involved in this report. They're even credited in this right here, down here at the bottom. So big credit to Sam Legrone and Mallory being credited and quoted in reports to Congress now. Well done. Okay, so from the report, the current plan size and composition of the Navy's annual rate of Navy ship procurement, prospective affordability of the Navy's shipbuilding plans, and the capacity of the U.S. shipbuilding industry to execute the Navy shipbuilding plan has been oversight matters for Congress Defense Committee for many years. And these are the things that don't line up. The Navy's plan, the Navy's budget, and the United States' ability to build these ships at this rate are 3 different values, and they've never aligned. And this frustrates Congress to no end. So let's go back to 2016. This was the first time that I remember hearing the 355 ship Navy was the goal, and Congress approved that in H.R. Bill 2810 in year 20 2018 and said, yes, this is the new shipbuilding goal. 355 man ships as of 2018 is official policy. So going forward from that, the Navy Department of Defense has been working through 2019 and even 2020 to build a successor, to build a plan to achieve this 355 ship goal. The new goal is expected to introduce a more distributed fleet architecture featuring smaller portions of larger ships and a larger portion of small ships. And this is where we meet another inconsistency in the report, because they've been working on those values, more smaller ships, fewer larger ships, 2019, 2020, 2021. Now in this year, 2022, look at what the plan is. 60 large surface combatant ships with only 50 smaller surface combatant ships. So even the plan today still doesn't check with what they've been telling Congress for years in just these two categories right here. Like, there's so much inconsistency that really needs to be looked at. Like, the Navy needs to get on its own page. It's got like 3 different messages that it's telling Congress, telling itself, Pentagon, with this plan, and telling the Biden administration. And we're going to get to that next. So in June 17th, 2021, last year, the Navy released a long-range Navy shipbuilding document to the Biden administration. Said 355 ships is our force goal. The document calls for the Navy to have a more distributed fleet architecture, which is funny because now we're going to have a more distributed, Air Force with bringing the F-35 Bravos on board these large amphibious aircraft carrying ships. So that all checks with chart. But this plan that they proposed to Biden over last summer was 321 to 372, and there is no one number. It's okay to have a range of numbers of manned ships, okay? And 770 to 140 unmanned vessels to accompany the manned vessels. But this is very important. Know that this 140 unmanned vessels is not part of the 355 ship plan. That's a totally different number, okay? A lot of people, instinctively or mistakenly add this 140 number to the 355 number. That's not the plan. Okay, in September 2021, the Congressional Budget Office began looking at this plan. What does the Biden administration do with the Navy's plan? It sends it right over to the CBO for budgeting. How much is it going to cost? Well, they came back with 2 values. It's going to cost between $25.3 billion on the low end and $32 billion on the high end in 2021 dollars for procurement. That's just getting the pieces and bits to construct this thing. And that's per year. That is an increase of 10 to, on the high end, 43% more money than they had been telling Congress. So this is another thing that frustrates Congress, is the Navy's not telling Congress what they want. They're not proposing a budget that funds what the plan is, but then they go to the White House and they submit a different plan to Biden and his administration than what they've been telling Congress, and the values are completely different in terms of funding. And Congress has had enough of this. They're like, just tell us what you need, how much it's going to cost, and then the Congress decides what to fund. But the Navy won't give them a straight answer, it seems. All right, let's continue on with this piece real quick. The Navy proposed in 2022 budget requesting procurement for 8 new ships. And this is another big inconsistency. We are proposed decommissioning 24 ships in the next 21 months, ladies and gentlemen. That is a huge culling of the United States Navy. And a lot of those are very capable Ticonderoga cruisers and much less capable littoral combat ships. And absolutely gutting the Marine Corps ability to operate from sea. Those expeditionary ships that we had just built about 9-10 years ago, those are on the chopping block too. Anyway, my point is 24 ships are going to be going away in the next 21 months, planned. And instead of building more ships this year, we're building actually less. The proposal right now is 8 new ships, 2 Virginia class, 1 Arleigh Burke, 1 Constellation class frigate, which is an untested design, and Congress will not fund 2 of these Constellation classes a year because they don't want a repeat of the littoral combat ship situation where they started funding them long before the technology was proven. So the Constellation class is going to go through a lot of testing before Congress begins funding multiple FFGs being constructed every year. And then there's some support class, towing and salvage and oilers are going to be added to that to give us a total of 8 ships. But combatants, we're talking about 4 combatants. this year. That in no way brings us anywhere closer to our goal. So the question is, how long does it take to reach this value, this 363 ship value? So I want to take a look at what we know here on this channel the best, and that's attack submarines, ballistic missile submarines and attack submarines. But for attack submarines specifically, the goal is to have 70 of these. So how many attack submarines do you think the United States Navy has right now? Well, I'll tell you how many we have. Okay, we've got 19 Virginias. 19 Virginias commissioned right now, out there doing the mission. 19 of them. We have 28 Los Angeles class submarines out there. That's less than 50, just under 50 total ships. And the goal is to get to 70. And again, we're just taking a narrow slice of this huge 103 page budget. So let's round up and say we're at 50 submarines. So we need to build 20 more submarines at a rate of 2 per year, including 2 Virginias per year. That's been consistent for the past, 10 years, it seems. It's going to take 10 more years to get to 70, assuming we don't decommission any 688 Los Angeles class submarines for the next decade. But we're decommissioning them at a pace of about 2 per year. So we're just maintaining about a 50 number of nuclear attack submarines right now for the next 12 to 14 years before we can begin increasing the number up to 70 being the goal, which will eventually be all Virginia class, right? We'll have 70 of those, but it's going to take us 25 years to get there at our current pace. And a lot of the pace of these other ships is actually negative right now and will be negative for the next 4 years because we're culling the Navy drastically to save some money, and the Marine Corps too, to save some money. That money saving is important. I'm not going to dissuade that, but there's a lot of inconsistency. We're not growing. We're not building ships and submarines fast enough to reach our goals before 2050. We're not matching the plan that we're telling the president that we're going to have more smaller ships and fewer larger ships, when clearly, as of just about 2 months ago, the Chief of Naval Operations said exactly the opposite. There's so much inconsistency. It's exhausting. And the person in charge of this, his name is Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Mike Gildy. And he is an intelligent flag officer. He knows about these issues. But it is really, the buck stops with him. I hold him responsible for being consistent. It's time now to stop telling Congress one thing, having a plan for something else, and telling the White House a third story. And then the chief or the Congressional Budget Office comes back with a new funding plan that's up to 43% more than Congress even knew about. They did all that. Congress had no say in that whatsoever, but Congress is responsible for funding it. So anyway, Chief of Naval Operations needs to fix this. Do whatever it takes, get before Congress, show them the same plan he showed the Biden administration, see if they'll fund it, see what they will fund, and then achieve this goal of 363-ish ships manned and who knows how many unmanned vehicles, before 2050. We need these ships right now. If we're serious about pushing back against Chinese expansion, across the Pacific and into the Indian Ocean, then we need to have a peer competitive Navy. And they are rapidly outgrowing us in terms of number of ships. So if we're going to be serious about, confronting them with our Navy, then we need to get on the ball now. All right. That's my 2 cents. I'm going to have all these links for you. You can read all these numbers yourself. And thanks for watching, everybody.